Good evening and welcome to True Doug Band Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. I hope that everybody had a Merry Christmas and I hope that everyone enjoyed their New Year. I just want to say I love and I miss y'all so much. I know I was supposed to do the marathon on some of my, old encounters, but I'm going to do them today. But instead of just doing one long stretch, I'm going to do them individually, so it'll give y'all more than one to listen to. Now, some of them is, a little long, so just sit back and just enjoy the encounters. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into this first one. Now, this first encounter comes from a lady named Alice. Now, Alice is a single mother of one. She says she grew up in the country all her life, playing on her family's land. And she said when she was about 15 years old, father used to take her down to this trail and they used to walk it. Now, mind you, Alice said that in order to get to this trail, it was at least 2 miles from their home. So Alice says she used to walk that trail all the time with her father when she was younger. So she said that by her work and by she had one son, she didn't get to go and walk that trail as she got older like she did when she was a little girl. So she said since she was free this weekend because her son went to go stay with the grandmother, she would walk this trail. So she said she got up one Saturday morning, got herself together, made her lunch, and took some water, and she left out, got in the car, and she continued to drive on down so she could walk this trail. She said when you get to the spot where the trail at, on the right hand side, she said it's a place where you could park at. And she said when she pulled in the park, she noticed only one car was there. She thought that was kind of strange because she said it usually be a lot of people, especially on a Saturday. So she said she got out and continued to walk on the opposite side to go and walk the trail. So she said when she was walking up in the trail, she noticed a man and a woman coming down. And she said that the woman was pulling the man by his arm, kind of fast, walking fast. And she said as she got a little close to him, she spoke. She said, "How y'all doing?" And the lady said, "Come on, come on, let's go, let's go." And the man said, "Hold up, hold up, hold up. We gonna go. You keep pulling my arm like that." And then the lady said, "Oh, I apologize. How you doing?" She said, "Come on, please, let's go. I want to get out of here." Now, Alice thought that was strange. So Alice asked the lady, she said, "Is there something wrong?" And the man was getting ready to say something, but the lady said, "No, no, ain't nothing wrong. I just want to leave because I'm tired and I got to use the bathroom." And they continued to walk down out of the trail and over to their car. So Alice turned and she watches them as they walking out, and she's saying to herself, "That was strange, man. I mean, why they ain't want to talk? Why was she, pulling his arm like that?" She brushed it off and paid it no attention. So Alice continued to walk the trail. So Alice said as she was walking the trail, she would see some of the animals that she usually see. She said she saw raccoons. She said she saw possums. She could hear the birds and she know everything. What the sounds that nature would make. So she said she was walking. So she said after she was walking for about 10 minutes, she had stopped. And when she stopped, she went in her bag, pulled out a water, and started to drink some water. She said, so after she started to drink some water, she put it back in her bag. She said, that's when she noticed a smell. She said, this smell, it smelled like strong urine. And she said it smelled like something that was dead. But she looking around. Alice say she don't see nothing. She looking around, but she don't see nothing. So she continued to walk. She said, but as she walking, she still could smell this smell. So she said she walked for about 50 to 60 more feet, and she stopped. And she said on the left-hand side, she said she see two deers. She said she see them. And she said it looked like they was grazing. She said then all of a sudden the deer's heads went up and started looking on the right-hand side over on the other side of the tree line. So she's standing there and she watching these deers look over there. So Alice say she looks over on that side. She say, Alice say, but she don't see nothing. So she's still looking at the deers. And she wondering what got them spooked and why they still looking over there with their ears straight up. She said, but they just kept looking on the other side. She said, all of a sudden, these two deers bolted up and ran up in the tree line. She said they was moving fast like they was scared. So Alice said she took a few more steps. She said that's when she noticed this black figure near a tree on all fours. And she said she stopped and she looked. And she said when she looked at this thing, she said it looked like a dove. She said, but she was saying to herself that this thing was too big to be a dove. So she said this, whatever it was at the time, because she didn't know, because she thought it was a dove, started to walk out through the tree line. And she said this thing stopped on the trail. She said when it stopped on the trail, she said this thing did something that still haunts her to this day. She said this thing stood up on its hind legs. And she said when it stood up, it started to smell of air. It started to sniff. She said, but this thing didn't see her. But she said she couldn't move at the time. So she watching this thing. She said this thing had a huge head, pointed ears. It had a long snout like the dove. She said, but the upper part of this thing, she said it was, masculine. She said this thing had the upper body of a human. She said this thing had a chest, shoulders, long arms. She said this thing had hands. She said this thing literally had hands, just like we do. She said, but the only thing, it just looked like a raccoon hand, And she said she could see like the patterns on the palm of it. So she said she watching this thing. She said she can't move though because she don't know what it is. She said she take a few steps back, and that's when her phone rang. And she said when her phone rang, she said that creature turned around and looked at her, dead in her eyes. She said when that creature looked at her, that's when it started to growl. She said that when that creature growled, she said she could feel it. She could feel it in her body. She said she could feel it in her chest. Now, mind you, she said the phone just kept ringing. And this thing just kept growling. And she said after a few seconds, this thing started to take steps coming down there towards Alice. So Alice said she started to walk backwards. She started to walk backwards. She's scared now because she don't know what this thing is. She said, so this thing just taking huge steps. Taking huge steps. And so while Alice walking backwards, she said she could hear a voice, kind of faint, coming up through the trail and then coming around this little curve. She said she heard this voice saying, Miss, are you all right? She said that's when she looked back and then turned back forward and looked at this creature. She said that's when this creature stopped. Then she turned back around again. And she could see that man, that woman, that they came back with a park ranger, a sheriff or something, she was saying. She said when she turned back around, she said she could see this creature just bolt straight through the tree line. So they gets up there where Alice at. And the sheriff asks her, Miss, are you okay? And Alice say, yeah, I'm okay. So the lady say, tell him. And she say, Alice said, tell him what? And the sheriff said that she saw a werewolf out here. Did you see anything like that? And Alice said, no, I ain't see nothing like that. Now, mind you, Alice seen this creature, but Alice said that she didn't want to tell the police that she seen anything other than deers, raccoons, and stuff like that that's indigenous to that area. So the sheriff said then, okay, then if you okay and you didn't see nothing, then I guess, I can just head on out here. Are you leaving? And then Alice said, yes, I'm leaving. I just came out to go for a walk. So they continued to leave out, get back over there with their car. Sheriff get in his car. He leaves. So the lady stops Alice. And she asked Alice, why didn't you tell him what you saw? And Alice said, why didn't you tell me what you saw when I came up on the trail? Because if you would have told me then, I wouldn't have never went up in these woods. Because I used to walk these woods all the time. And that's the first time that I ever seen something like that. So the lady said, I don't know why I didn't tell you. I was scared. I just wanted to get out of here. But I'm sorry. I wish I would have told you because something could have happened to you. So they got in their car. Alice got in her car. She continued the ride. She goes home. Alice calls her mother. And she tells her mother what she saw. And her mother said, are you sure? Was it a bear? She said, Ma, this thing stood up on its back legs and it growled at me and it walked towards me. She said it didn't see me at first, but when my phone rung, that's when it looked in my direction and started to walk my way. So her mother told her to calm down. She said, I'm glad you're safe. I hope you don't go up in them woods no more. And Alice said, ever since she had that encounter, she ain't been back on that trail ever since. So that was Alice's encounter. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be right back with another encounter.